main timeline where everything is
we're
exactly
getting into time travel. No, not alternate timelines. No, the biggest mistake in every show, anime, movie, book, everything, video game ever. Don't change timelines. What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. It's Curmudgeon Jones coming back to you with another reaction video. Today we're going to be checking out the Pokemon Timeline Explained in 7 minutes by Chase Kipp. I don't really know what to expect from this video. I just saw it pop up in my feed. I added it to my watch later, and I thought, hey, that'd be something interesting to react to for the YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and hop right into this video, and let's see what we think.
Okay, so our story begins with a young trainer named Red, who travels all across the Kanto region fighting dangerous monsters, crime organizations, and eventually his lifelong rival Blue, who he defeats to become the Pokemon League champion, thereby accomplishing his entire life's goal by the humble age of 11. 3 years later, Team Rocket returns once again, but when we needed Red the most, he vanished up into the mountains to live out his angsty middle school loner phase. Thankfully, a new trainer rose up to defend the Kanto and Johto regions. Along the way, also coming across a Red Gyarados rampaging at the Lake of Rage. And wouldn't you believe it, that's the same Red Gyarados that we see on TV at the beginning of Diamond and Pearl. So we could just put these right there. Now, hold your horses because we have to take a step back for Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. These 3 games are supposed to take place around the same time as Generation 1, but the evidence for this isn't exactly stated by the games themselves. There are a few hints, like being able to trade between Generations 1 and 3, as well as having some coinciding events, but the strongest evidence comes from this now deleted tweet by one of Game Freak's head writers, Toshinobu Matsumiya, which reveals the connection between Gens 1 and 3, as well as validating everything else that we covered so far. Okay, now we can finally move on to Pokemon Black and White. After putting a stop to Pokemon PETA and their Bishonen Prince, our hero takes on the Unova Elite Four, with one of their members being the sleepy psychic trainer Caitlyn. This is also the same Caitlyn that we see in Generations 4 and 2, but ambiguously older. How much older, I'm not too sure, but enough to say that from Generations 2 and 4 to 5, time has definitely moved forward, I guess. It can't be too long though, because 2 years later in Pokemon Black and White 2, we once again see our boys Red and Blue, and they still look like they literally haven't aged today. Yep. Let's just put this mystery aside for now and move on to X and Y. Referring back to the old timeline tweet, we can see that X and Y is supposed to take place around the same time as Black and White 2, but it's not actually on the same timeline as the rest of the games, and that's thanks to the inclusion of every competitive battler's favorite game mechanic: Mega Evolution. See, there's actually an alternate dimension that runs right alongside the main timeline where everything is
we're getting into time travel. No, not alternate timelines. No, the biggest mistake in every show, anime, movie, book, everything, video game ever. Don't change timelines.
The same, except
cringe.
Characters look slightly different, Pokemon can Mega Evolve, and the story changes just enough to be sold as an entirely new game. This includes X and Y, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and presumably an alternate version of every other game. Because by the time we reach Sun and Moon, 2 games that also include Mega Evolution, we see that a bunch of characters from all the previous games have also arrived on the Alola Islands. Then there's the case of Annabelle, who's originally from Pokemon Emerald and doesn't actually appear in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. In her case, she was magically sent by a wormhole from the original timeline to the Mega timeline 10 years before the start of Sun and Moon.
This is what happens when you mess with timelines. It gets so convoluted and stupid. I hate it.
More concrete proof to the whole split timeline theory. So, we know that Sun and Moon takes place on the Mega timeline, but as to when, that's where it starts to get misty. I mean, you got Red and Blue, who look like they're in their 20s, and then you got Wally from Generation 3, who looks like he just graduated Poke Middle School. Let me remind you that Generation 1 and Generation 3 are both supposed to have taken place like more than a decade ago. Thankfully, we have this concept art of Grimsley, a member of the Unova Elite Four, which states that 2 years has passed since his last appearance in Black and White 2, and by relation, also 2 years after X and Y. Okay, now we can finally go back and fill in the gaps between generations 2, 4, and 5. We now know that Annabelle arrived in Alola 10 years before the start of Sun and Moon. So, from her original appearance in Generation 3 and her latest appearance in Generation 7, the total years have to equal at least 10. Using some quick math, we can calculate that the gap between Generations 2, 4, and 5 must equal at least 3 years. But that's a lot of at leasts. Shouldn't we be able to narrow that down a bit? Well, how about you ask that question to my good friend Porygon?
Oh, no.
Porygon's Pokédex entry in Sun and Moon states that it was created roughly 20 years ago.
Interesting.
Of course, we know that Porygon already has to exist before Gens 1 and 3, as they are available to be caught in the wild areas of these games. So, the gap between Generations 3 and Generation 7 has to equal at least 10 years because Annabelle arrived in Alola 10 years before the start of Sun and Moon, but no more than 20 years because Porygon still needs to exist in the wild areas of Gens 1 and 3.
Okay, we're
Meaning
narrowing it
that the
down.
time gap before Generation 5 has
Quite the
to equal
detective.
between 3 and 13 years. Now, if you've already left a comment about how this timeline is stupid and that I'm looking too far into things,
Nah.
I've got...
We love stuff like this, dude. I love people who care about stuff so much. Like, this is like the most random thing that like nobody should care about, whatever. But I love that stuff. I love whenever someone cares about something or is so passionate about something or gets this itch that they have to scratch when it comes to something. And so they have to figure it out. I love stuff like this, dude. Keep it up.
Good news, and I've got bad news. The good news is the video is almost over. The bad news is it's only going to get more convoluted from this point on.
It's going to get more
when it
convoluted.
comes to remakes and third versions, I generally assume them to be interchangeable with the games that they're originally based on, as the story typically doesn't stray far enough to where we couldn't still assume that they lead into each other. But recently, these games have been getting more and more lenient with their stories, like in Let's Go Pikachu.
We can just throw Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee out. They don't count. They're not real. Just pretend they don't exist.
Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, where the story is almost exactly the same as Pokemon Yellow, except your rival gets replaced with a doorknob, and Red and Blue are now NPCs who finished their journey years ago.
True. Wait, let me go back.
Their journey years ago.
Pokemon Let's Go includes Mega Evolution, which makes you think that it would take place on the Mega timeline, but it also includes the character Mina, who originally appeared in Generation 7 as a trial captain. Mina is 13 to 15 years old in Let's Go, and Generation 1 and Generation 7 are 10 to 20 years apart in the timeline, so Mina would have to be 23 to 35 in Generation 7. But that doesn't make sense because trial captains have to retire by the age of 20, which is why Let's Go breaks the timeline and has to be placed in its own timeout corner. Yep, we don't care about Let's Go. Let's Go is stupid. Moving on.
So now there's a Let's Go timeline. Cool, whatever, as long as there's not any more timelines we have to worry about, right?
Oh, there's gonna be.
Wrong. In Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, there's an additional post-game where Giovanni brings back all the past evil team leaders for one Rainbow Grandpa Super Squad. But they're not from this timeline or any of the other timelines we've talked about. They're actually from alternate dimensions where the protagonist was defeated and they successfully carried out their evil schemes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, yeah. It's not a timeline and it's not a time parallel line.
It's an alternate reality.
It's a time web. Okay, here's the moment that you've all been waiting for. Where does Sword and Shield take place on the Pokemon timeline?
Please tell me.
Well, the answer is... I don't know.
No!
I don't know.
You have to
In fact,
know!
Nobody knows.
No!
There's literally nothing we can use to connect it to previous generations, to the point where I'm pretty sure it's a conscious choice by Game Freak not to include any references to past games in an attempt to not step on their toes any more than they already have. Nobody wants another case of the 30-year-old but still looks 12 Wally. So there you have it, the official, unofficial Pokemon timeline. None of this is actually endorsed by Nintendo, but it's what's commonly used to reference ages on popular sites like Bulbapedia. And so far, I haven't seen anyone put all the tiny crumbs of lore into one slightly cohesive timeline sandwich that doesn't take an hour to consume. Also, before anyone asks, no, I don't know where Pokemon Coliseum, Pokemon Rumble, and Pokemon Puzzle League take place on the timeline. But if you have any theories of your own, I'd love to discuss them in the comments, along with any recommendations you have for what games I should cover next. thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.
All right, good video. I enjoyed it. Great stuff. Just another example of why you don't use alternate timelines, alternate dimensions, time travel, any of that crap. It gets so convoluted, so confusing, and you're bound to mess it up. So don't use that stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed my reaction to this video, make sure to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see when new videos come out, do all of that cool algorithm stuff, comment down below on stuff that you want me to watch, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.